Between August 28th and 30th, 1862, what began as a Union pursuit rapidly escalated into the largest mass assault of the American Civil War. Titled The Hammer and the Anvil, this narrative examines how relentless tactical maneuvers and strategic positioning turned a confident advance into a devastating clash, trapping forces in one of the war's most critical conflicts. General Robert E. Lee executes a bold gamble by splitting his army, sending Stonewall Jackson on a grueling 50-mile flanking march to sever Union supply lines. When Jackson destroys the massive depot at Manassas Junction, an outraged Union General John Pope abandons his formidable defensive line along the Rappahannock River. Eager to trap Jackson, Pope orders his scattered corps to converge on Manassas, completely unaware that he is marching his army directly into a trap on ground pre-selected by the Confederates. At 6:30 p.m. on August 28th, Stonewall Jackson springs his trap at Bronner's Farm. As unsuspecting Union troops take the bait, the legendary Iron Brigade and Stonewall Brigade clash in an intensely savage fight. Standing a mere 80 yards apart, the opposing lines endure over 2 hours of unrelenting, close-quarters volley fire without yielding ground. The collision results in devastating losses, with nearly 1 in 3 men falling, claiming 1,150 Union and 1,250 Confederate casualties in a ferocious standstill. On August 29th, convinced Stonewall Jackson is isolated and retreating, Union General Pope launches a series of furious, disjointed frontal assaults. Anchored behind an abandoned 1850s railroad grade, Jackson's 20,000 men utilized the excavation as a ready-made fortress, holding 3,000 yards of line. Repeated attacks by Sigel, Grover, and Nagel shatter against the defensive position. Even when Cuvier Grover's 1,500-man bayonet charge manages to briefly breach the line, a critical lack of federal support dooms the effort, inflicting 25% casualties and leaving Jackson's Anvil unbroken. Terrain becomes destiny at the deep cut. To reach the Confederate line, Union troops are forced to charge across 600 yards of completely exposed pasture on Lucinda Dogan's farm. Positioned securely behind an earthwork railroad grade, Confederate infantry fire with lethal efficiency from trench-like cover. Descending into the steep, 150-yard incline, advancing Federal soldiers are trapped in a dead zone at the base of the cut. Unable to return effective upward fire and caught in a devastating bottleneck. A fatal disconnect in command intelligence creates a deadly trap for the Union Army. General Pope firmly believes Stonewall Jackson is fighting a desperate rearguard action in preparation to retreat, and that Longstreet's wing remains nowhere near the battlefield. The reality is far grimmer. Jackson is heavily entrenched in a defensive stronghold, seamlessly absorbing Federal attacks. Meanwhile, Longstreet's 25,000-man force has already arrived via Thoroughfare Gap by noon on August 29th, lying in wait directly on the vulnerable Union left flank. On August 30th, General Pope misinterprets a minor Confederate troop shift as a full retreat and orders a massive pursuit. Believing victory is at hand, he commands General Fitz John Porter's V Corps, nearly 10,000 men, to deliver what he expects to be a final death blow to Jackson's center. Unaware of the true tactical alignment, Union soldiers march blindly straight into a deadly V-shaped trap formed by the converging lines of Jackson and Longstreet, stepping directly into the open jaws of Confederate destruction. As Porter's men surge across the open pasture toward the deep cut, they are torn to pieces by devastating enfilading fire. Stephen D. Lee's massed battery of 36 Confederate guns unleashes a lethal crossfire of case shot, shrapnel, and canister before the attackers even reach the infantry line. Federal soldiers who make it to the embankment engage in bloody hand-to-hand combat. Though the Confederate line momentarily buckles under the onslaught, it ultimately holds firm, turning the assault into a horrific meat grinder. As days of continuous fighting exhaust Confederate ammunition, mounting Union pressure brings defenders at the embankment to a critical breaking point. With empty rifles and an overwhelming Federal surge approaching, soldiers from Stafford's and Johnson's brigades pry heavy stones from the railroad grade, hurling them at the enemy. Pinned down and shell-shocked, Union troops throw the rocks right back. The firefight devolves into a brutal, primitive rock fight. A testament to the fierce desperation of men pushed to the absolute brink. As Porter's assault shatters at the deep cut and Union forces reel backward in confusion, the trap is fully set. Waiting patiently in the woods on the exposed Union left flank is Longstreet's wing, 25,000 men strong, encompassing 5 divisions under commanders like Hood, Kemper, and Jones. With the Federal attack collapsing in disarray, the hidden hammer is finally raised, poised to fall upon an unsuspecting army. At 4 p.m., seeing the Federal waves break against Jackson's stubborn line, General Lee orders a general advance. 25,000 Confederate soldiers surge forward as a single entity. Left completely exposed by General Pope's tunnel vision, the Union left flank collapses almost instantly under the crushing impact of the largest mass assault of the war. With a catastrophic rout imminent, only a series of desperate, sacrificial rearguard stands prevent total annihilation. At Chin Ridge, Towers' brigade, including the heavily bloodied 88th Pennsylvania, fights stubbornly against overwhelming odds. Their fierce resistance slows the crushing momentum of Longstreet's advancing tidal wave, buying vital time. This heroic defense holds the line at Chin Ridge and Henry Hill just long enough for General Pope's shattered Union army to escape across Bull Run, narrowly averting total destruction. As General Pope's shattered army retreats to Washington, the commander refuses to accept blame for his own tactical blindness. Unwilling to bear the toll of his hubris, Pope scapegoats General Fitz-John Porter for failing to execute a vague and delayed 4:30 p.m. attack order on August 29. Court-martialed to shield his superior's failure, Porter pays the price for the disaster until he is finally exonerated in 1886. The tale of Porter's court-martial and his attempts to clear his name make a fascinating tale. Please leave a comment if you are interested in a video with the story. This masterstroke unfolded at the fatal intersection of strategy and delusion. Jackson served as the Anvil, leveraging the unfinished railroad to fix Pope's attention and absorb the Federal assault. Driven by confirmation bias, General Pope saw only what he wished to believe, a retreating enemy, blind to the trap closing around him. This fatal miscalculation left the Union army vulnerable to devastation when Longstreet struck as the hammer, delivering the greatest counterattack of the Civil War. The Battle of Second Manassas secured Robert E. Lee's reputation and paved the way for the Confederacy's first invasion of the North at Antietam. But strategic triumph exacted a staggering human toll, claiming over 13,800 Union and 8,350 Confederate casualties. Beyond the shifting troop lines, the battle stands as a grim reminder of the devastating, bloody cost paid when a commander's persistent illusions collide with battlefield reality.